Hi everyone, my name is Sammy and I talk about human design on my channel, and today we are going to be talking about the 6 lines and kind of doing a small brief breakdown of what these 6 lines mean in the I Ching Hexagram, how to kind of navigate how these lines play out in your human design chart. Now remember, we are going to have a profile which is 70% of your expression. That is going to be your earth and sun in both your design and your personality. So the top 4 squares on the side of your body graph chart, those are going to be what make up your profile. But as we know, there are other lines that do come into play in our in our human design chart. So one of the things on genetic matrix I always like to do when I'm doing a reading for somebody is I will look up what other dominant profile, or sorry, I keep saying profile, what other dominant lines that they might have. So for example, I am a 5-1, but I actually have a lot of 4s and 1s in my design chart. So those are going to play out in those different gates and those different themes throughout my chart. So just because your profile is one thing doesn't mean it's the other 30% of the expression that's being played out. So the line 1 is the investigator. It likes to get to the bottom of things, needs a solid foundation of knowledge in life, and they teach what they have learned. As somebody who has a lot of 1 lines in my chart, I used to think I was super spontaneous, like I'm an emotional projector, totally not a spontaneous person. But I used to think that I used to not notice how much I was constantly looking things up or constantly had this amount of knowledge on certain things until I was asked, and I was like, oh, I totally have this 400 websites to give you if you want to learn more about something. And so I was able to kind of realize that unconsciously in my design chart, I had a lot of line 1s. And those were playing out a lot in the background, but when I was able to actually notice it, it became really awesome to be able to use that in my everyday life and to understand how much knowledge I actually was able to grasp and to have on this kind of back end. So that way, if someone did have a question or there was this need for a foundation of knowledge, I was able to spread it when I was asked to give that knowledge. So basically, the internet was made for the line 1s. So the line 2 is called the hermit. They need a lot of time alone. They have a lot of intuitive gifts. They get called out for these unique and intuitive gifts. They become absorbed sometime in their own process, but that's actually very beautiful and kind of the eclectic aspect of the line 2 that I love so much. If you see that you have any line 2s in your profile or in your chart, sorry, I think it's important that you take the time and really see how those navigate in your life and where you might find yourself enjoying just the process of being alone through those gates or through those expressions of where that line is. Line 3 is the martyr. Here to play the trial and error process. Again, it's like you've never made a mistake in your life. All these trial and errors are what your process is. You are here to make mistakes so that you can figure out what's right and what's wrong for you. What I love about people who have a lot of line 3s in their chart is that they are so fearless and totally not afraid of failing. I think that it's in a beautiful expression, the line 3, of what it's like to keep going and not being afraid of failure. Regardless of how many times it feels like they're failing, they're just going through their trial and error process. This is how they learn what works and what doesn't, and they're able to either share that knowledge with people, or if they're a 1-3, they use that foundational knowledge of understanding what works and what doesn't, and then they go to the trial and error process again. So the line 4, which is the opportunist, they have a network of people. So their people are how they kind of navigate their opportunities in life. A lot of people who are a line 4 are going to understand that they have to have their people in order to kind of make things work and to be into fruition and network and build their relationships. Their relationships aren't just for life, but also for their business and what they're doing in their life. The line 5, the heretic, this process is external. They can easily navigate with strangers. It's actually the people who are personal to them that it can be a little bit more difficult for them to feel like they're seen. But they have an amazing opportunity in this life to impact strangers by not just their energy and their aura, but also who they are, what they stand for, what principles they bring to the table. People can project on this line. They can see it as the savior, but the 5 line is also able to universalize concepts and things and bring it into fruition in a very practical way when they are being in their practical right mindset. I know, as being a 5-1, someone who has that heretic line and someone who also has the line 1, I know how important it is to build this foundation of knowledge and to come to the universe on a universal scale and bring it to the people in a very practical way. Practicality is going to be your key word here. If you're a line 5, I highly recommend practicality in all aspects of life. So then we have the line 6. So this is the role model, the most unique line and very spiritual, almost otherworldly, as we can see in the I Ching. It's like the top, it's almost like outside of the actual hexagram. It's very energetically different and unique, and I find that a lot of people who have this line tend to have these kind of thoughts and ideas that are energetically otherworldly, or that are very beautiful to who they are in the life that they have built here on this earth. What I like to say for people who have line 6 is it's okay wherever you are in your process. So if you are 0, if you are just born to 30 years old, you are going to go through this trial and error process like you are a 3rd line. If you're 30 to 50-ish, you're going to start taking what you learned and formulating it into what you actually want in life. So you're going to start being more steady in your foundations, understanding what is not working for you, like for sure, and what is, and start to build onto that. And then after 50 plus years, you start to share your mastery and your wisdom that you have learned in this life as this role model. Trust is vital for this line. I know that people who can read this line in a society that expects everything to be on demand, like right now, to hear that you might not be in a lot of this role model aspect of your life until later can feel very frustrating, or even make you desire for your life to be at that place. But remember that every single aspect of these phases are very important, and it's important to live in the moment when you are going through this process, as much as I know that it might seem difficult to do. And I have actually quite a lot of line 6s in my chart, like lower in the chart, and I find it important that when I get stuck on those gates, to remember that this is a lifelong journey, and that our human design chart is also a lifelong journey. So remembering to just go through every day, day by day, and to take it step by step and to be in the moment is probably one of the most vital things that you can do, regardless of your lines or your profile. I hope that this was helpful. I just kind of wanted to do an overview of the 6 lines. I know I have not done every profile yet, but I think it's important that we go to the basics and really learn how these lines work and operate on a traditional sense, and from a more varied way than just the profiles, because as we know, we all do have these lines in our chart, and sometimes we can have a lot of them and not even be very aware of it. So I highly recommend pulling up your chart, seeing if you have a lot of one of these lines, and checking out more videos on it. Thanks, guys.